Okay, we're moving on to example 3 in graphing and solving systems of equations. So example 3 says graph the following equations and determine what type of system it is and what the solution is. Okay, so if we see here, we have two equations. One is in slope-intercept form, that's this guy, and you can tell because the y is by itself on one side of the equal sign. And then we have this equation, which is in standard form. The reason why I know it's in standard form, the x and y are on the same side and they have non-fraction coefficients. Okay, so here's the deal. Let's go ahead and graph both and then we're going to see where they are. As I mentioned in the previous video, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 6 of the green line, so I'm going to go ahead and plot that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's my y-intercept. And now I'm going to look at the coefficient of x to find the slope. So the coefficient of the slope is 1, so my slope is, my slope is 1 over 1. That's a rise of 1 and a run of 1. That's equal to m. So I go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, okay, because you can go in reverse, and that's our line. I'm going to move it so it looks a little bit nicer. Oops. There, that's a little bit better. Okay, so we have our line here, and it continues infinitely in both directions. Now, with standard form, you can usually graph these by plotting the x and y intercepts. This one's easily manipulated, so what we're going to do is we're just simply going to move this over and convert to slope-intercept form. That's probably the easiest way to do this one. So I'm going to go ahead and move the x by doing the opposite operation, which is adding x to both sides. Then I have y equals a positive 1x, if you like to think of it as a 1 there. I'm just going to write it as x. And then minus 2, the minus 2 stays. So now this is in a much more familiar form. It's much easier to graph. So we can go ahead and start with our y-intercept. So that's negative 2. Plot on negative 2. If you can look here, what's our slope? Our slope is 1 over 1. There's an invisible 1 in front of that x. That's the coefficient. 1 over 1. So we're going to rise 1, run 1. And we'll go ahead and plot some points here for this line. Anytime, if I'm going too fast, please just pause the video and you can get caught up in your notes. Okay, so again, this continues in both directions. Now, from appearances, it looks like these two lines are parallel and that they have no solutions. How do we know for sure, though? You can't just assume. Well, look at the slopes. What do you notice about the slopes? They are parallel. And they are parallel because they are equal. So if they have parallel slopes, that means that they are inconsistent. They're an inconsistent system. Therefore, there is no solutions. And they are inconsistent. Now, we've talked about graphing, but what about tables? Essentially, what we do with graphing is we're composing a list of all the values of x and y and if they have any in common. So essentially what this is a different form of looking at the data, and it's a table. So the first thing we need to do here is it's a table comparing the number of hours monthly exercising for both men and women 2015 to 2024. This one is a particularly linear pattern, so we're just going to continue the pattern in our notes here. So if you want to follow along, I'm going to use orange. So we have 18, 19, 20, 21. We're adding 1 each time. So we have 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. Now, what's the issue here? Well, it's asking probably, if there was a question being asked for the number of hours, is where they have the same number. When will they be equal? So if we continue the pattern for both, we might be able to see where they're equal. So for women, let's go ahead and use green. So 14, 15.5, 17. What's happening each time is it's adding 1.5. Adding 1.5. Adding 1.5. So what happens? 20 becomes 21.5. 21.5 becomes 23. Add 1.5, you get 24.5. Whoops. Not 44, 24.5. Then we have 26, and 27.5. Where do they have a space in common? Look here. They both equal 26 in 2023, and that is the solution to the system of the men's equation and the women's equation. So there we have another way of presenting the same information, seeing where we have a solution to a system of equations with a chart and a table. So there's graphing, there's a table, and we're going to learn a couple more ways next time.